There is a story told of an old Indian chief who, in his latter years, decided to talk to the young men of his tribe. And he told them, he said, living inside of you, there are two wolves. One of those wolves is after the mastery of your life. One of them will master your life. And he said, one of them is evil. It is full of hatred. It is conniving. It is lying. It is boastful. It is full of anger. The other wolf, he said, is good and pure and truthful and full of love. And somebody raised their hand. One little boy said, well, who's going to win out if both of them are fighting? And his answer was simply this: the one who will win out is the one you feed. All of us have some kind of decisions to make. They're not always easy. They're not always simple. And regardless of what you may think today, the decisions are not always made on this platform. They're not made by your pastor, your bishop, or the other staff, or even the visitors who pass through here. There are decisions of life you decide. There's sometimes, and if you will either kind of smile or nod your head today, either one will not affect me. But it will somehow, you decide how your life is going to be. You feed what is inside of you. You decide. I decided today, before I came to this pulpit, my whole attitude was decided today, not by this crowd, but by me. I decided how I was going to do and how I was going to feel and how I was going to react and whether I was going to be exciting or whatever it was going to be. Proverbs said, for as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Whatever you think about, it will decide the destiny of your life. To decide that things are well will make things better than they are. If you think things are bad, they will be bad. You can make them a whole lot worse by what you think. It is so important that what you hear and what you see is not decided by somebody who decides to make you think what they want you to think. It's important that you be a thinker and not just somebody who absorbs what is given to you. You decide what is going to be. I'm careful what I read. Now, everybody does what you want to do, but I do not read anything that is not true. I will not read a novel. I will not read just a story that somebody wrote simply because I do not want that individual to decide to put in me what they think about a situation. I want to read something that's real and something that's true. And boy, y'all are such an excited crowd today. I'm overdoing it, I can tell. In his book, Empires of the Mind, Dennis Waitley makes the true story, and it's one of the shocking stories that I have ever read. He tells about a man by the name of Nick, a very strong, healthy railroad yardman. Man, I mean the kind of guy that you could depend on, the kind of guy you could get along with. Kind of guy who was always reliable. He was always there on his job. He was there. He was constant. But there was only one thing about Nick. He was a pessimist. He was a chronic pessimist. I don't care what you said, it was wrong with him. His attitude was constantly negative. If you said the sun was shining, he was saying, well, it's going to get dark after a while. If you said, well, you know, it may sprinkle today, he said, I'm going to tell you what, it's going to flood before today's over. He was just that kind of a guy. One summer day, the trains were pulling in, the crews was pulling in, and the foreman of the crew, it was his birthday, and he decided, hey, let's have a birthday party. And he told all the workmen on one side of the train, he said, we're going to shut down an hour early today. And as fate would have it, somebody forgot to tell Nick, the notorious worrier. The notorious guy who always believed the worst, accidentally was locked in an isolated refrigerator box car that was in the yard for repairs. It was not something that somebody planned. It was just one of those things that accidentally happened, and everybody else went to the party, and Nick realized he was locked in the refrigerated car. He shouted, he panicked, he beat on the wall, the doors, he screamed until he could not scream anymore. His voice was hoarse. He banged on it. Unfortunately, the noise of trains coming in and out, and if you've ever been around a railroad yard, you can't hear yourself think. And it ground out all of the excitement of Nick, and nobody heard Nick's cry for help. Not a person heard them. And so after a while, Nick realized he was trapped in the refrigerator car, and he began to shiver. Because having worked in a railroad yard, he knew that a refrigerated car was geared for 0 degrees, and he began to shiver and shake and knew that he could not get out. And the thought began to set in, I'm going to freeze.